Let's see. Get that out of here. All right, so here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We got Chapter 6, Drive Right, performing those basic vehicle maneuvers. Okay, Section 1, they talked about steering signals and changing lanes. So you guys should be able to steer straight forward. Remember, we put our hands at 10 and 2 was the old way. We would punch ourselves in the face with the airbag. Now it's 9 and 3, okay? Or at the very minimum, 8 and 4, a little lower, okay? It says here, steering your vehicle only requires a minor adjustments. What it does is to, what does it mean? What does it mean? I can't even talk today. What does it mean to oversteer? That means you're steering too much. Okay, so you're steering too much and your car is going to start going back and forth, so we don't want to oversteer. Or if you're going through a turn and you turn too much, you're going to make that too sharp. Okay, to understeer, that's not turning your steering wheel enough. Okay, so if we got to make a turn and you don't steer enough, you're understeering and you're going to be super wide on those turns. Okay, so we want to avoid that the best we can. When you guys are steering straight backward, okay, always want to have our foot on the brake pedal. Okay, we're going to be looking backwards, so we got to make sure we understand the difference between gas and brake. So we want to be putting our foot on the brake. You never want to be going backwards with your foot on the gas. Okay, because if something happens and you need to slam your foot on the brake, a lot of times you press the wrong pedal. You don't want that. It says turn your body to the right and put your arm over the back of the passenger seat. If you guys had a seat right now in class, I would have you try this out. So you're going to put for me, it's your left arm. You're going to put your left arm straight forward, and then you put your arm on the passenger seat, and that's going to help you turn your shoulders even farther than 180 degrees. So it allows you to kind of rotate even more by pressing and getting more leverage. Okay. So put your hand up at 12 o'clock and then release pressure off the brake. You guys should know if we're in drive or reverse, anytime we have put it into that gear, the car will move forward for drive and back for reverse. So as soon as we let off that brake, we'll start moving backwards. Okay? And we want to creep back slowly. Move your wheel in the direction you want to go. So a lot of people get all confused when they're going backwards. Well, this is a technique that you have to be able to do. We call this alley back up right, where you have to back around a corner. So that's a technique that you guys need to start practicing with mom and dad. Okay? Keep your foot on the brake as you back up, and then don't get confused. Okay? Don't get confused with the gas and the brake when you're backing up. So the other things I talked about with steering is making your turns. And sometimes, for whatever reason, maybe your turn signals are not working. So we have hand signals. And these hand signals are the exact same hand signals that we use if we're riding a bike. Okay? If I want to do a right turn, then I'm going to make a perpendicular with my left hand sticking out. Okay? If I need to do a left hand turn, then I'm going to stick it straight out, and that tells the drivers behind me I'm turning left. And then if I need to stop, then I do my hand down, and that's what means for stop. And that's the same hand signals that somebody with a bicycle would use. Okay? And let me know if you can't hear or see something. All right, so if this was in class, I would ask you guys to do the physical test. Physical test, right, up, left, straight across. Stop is straight down. Okay? And again, when would those be useful? If for some reason my lights are not working, or my brake lights aren't working, my blinkers aren't working, I can at least tell the people behind me what's going on, and then I can pull over and get this hopefully figured out. Maybe I have a blown fuse or something's not right with the electrical work. Changing lanes, driver must be able to execute lane change maneuvers smoothly and safely. This is something that we work on a lot at Cary Grove to make sure you guys are floating on over from one lane to the other. Okay. Changing lanes helps you get to a better view of the road ahead. Sometimes as if we have a 2-lane road that we're on and there's a big old truck in the right lane, sometimes we'll have to move to the left lane so we can see better. Okay, and usually those trucks are slow. We want to get around those guys. So we need to change lanes, and we got to do it safely. Okay, it says do not oversteer when changing lanes. You may lose control. I always tell my guys to float over like a cloud. We want to go slowly over to the other lane. We want to go quickly over there, because what if we've made a mistake? Okay, if we float on over, somebody behind us can honk at us and say, hey, what are you doing? If we go over there right away, oh man, we're going to cause an accident. So we want to float like a cloud. Okay, so these are the procedures that they talk about. It says check traffic in the front and left front zones if we're making a left lane change. Check rear zones through the rear view mirrors. Signal, make a blind spot check over your left shoulder if we're making a left lane change. Increase your speed slightly as you steer smoothly into the next lane, and then make sure you turn your signal off. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, how do you turn your signal off? How do you turn that off? Any ideas?
Just have to tap it back down again.
Yeah, so if you got that
gently.
So if you turn that signal on, that you can just push it up to turn it off. Or vice versa. If you push it up, you can press it down gently. Okay? True story. True story. Mr. Altendorf used to teach this class way back in the day. You guys know Mr. Altendorf. He's our athletic director here at Cary Grove. He was with a gal, and she was turning left from Route 14 to Three Oaks Road over by Thornton's gas station. And you know that turn is not a very sharp turn. Okay? Well, they had their signal on. They made the turn when they had the green arrow. And then Mr. Altendorf says, oh, your signal's on. Can you turn it off? Guess how she turned it off? Oh, okay. And she went like this. Yeah, the whole car went like this. All right? That is not how you turn your turn signal off. All right? So you can use, I think it was William who said it. William was right. You can use the lever. True story. Okay? True story. That did happen to Mr. Altendorf. Ask him. Okay. Now, the thing that I use for my class, for my students when I'm driving is SMB, just in that order. Signal, mirror, blind spot. So signal, mirror, blind spot. We want to have that signal on for a long period of time. Okay. We want to have that on for at least 100 feet. That way everybody around us knows. We want to check our mirrors. Inside mirror, left mirror if I'm making a left lane change. Inside mirror, right mirror if I'm making a right lane change. Then I got to check my blind spot. If I'm going left, I check my left blind spot. If I need to go to the right lane, I check my right. And that'll be, if you're in a four-door car, I'll be in the passenger window out the right side. Okay, so we got to check that blind spot. So SMB, that is a quiz question. You guys should know. What does SMB stand for? Signal, mirror, blind. SMB, don't forget it. Next section, they talked about making turns and turning the vehicle. You guys know how to do that. They talked about hand over hand, HOH steering. HOH steering looks like this, pulling the steering wheel down with one hand while the other crosses over. Okay? If you guys watch the video, it's not necessarily the most efficient steering. Okay? You guys know how to make left turns, so I'm not going to walk you through that. Okay, so hand over hand. For this technique, I always say keep your hands high if you're going to use it. Okay, because if you go too low, then it's hard to get that hand back up. Your hands start fighting. So we say keep your hands high. Keep your hands high if you're doing hand over hand. Okay, I always want to get two hands on the steering wheel. Okay, the push and pull steering or the shuffle steering is what you saw in the video. Okay. That's just keeping your hands on one side and the other. So I pull and push, pull and push, pull and push, pull and push. That's why they call it the pull and push method or the push and pull method or the shuffle steering. Okay, allows you to keep your hands on the wheel at all times versus hand over hand. You actually lift up and you got to keep lifting up back and forth. If you watch the video of the race car driver, they all use shuffle steering, this push-pull method, because it's safer. Okay. So driving precautions when you're making left and right turns. Again, make sure you guys are looking for pedestrians. I can tell you right now on Three Oaks Road in Silver Lake by the Three Oaks retirement community little home there, okay, there is a sign that says do not turn right if pedestrians are present. So please watch out for pedestrians. And there will be a police officer there from time to time, especially on school days, to make sure that is being enforced. So please be careful, okay? Plan turns well in advance, be in the correct lane. So if I'm turning right, make sure you're in the right lane. If you're turning left, get in the left lane or the turn lane, okay? And obey all traffic signals, okay? And make sure you yield to oncoming traffic. If you are stopped at a red light and you're turning right, you can turn right on red if it's safe, if you are able to. There's no sign. On left, you cannot turn left on red unless they're one-way streets. Okay? So turning left at an intersection, this car's put his left blinker on, and now he's in the left lane, and now he's going to make his left turn. When you make a left turn and you have two options to choose it to, drive into, you always choose the nearest. Okay, so if you're turning left at an intersection, this car is turning into the nearest lane. And the reason is, if there's a car here, legally, he can turn right into his nearest lane. If you turn in your nearest lane and he turns in his nearest lane, we'll be fine. The problem is people don't slow down enough on left turns, and then they swoop into this far lane, okay? Well, if you do that and there's a car coming and you hit him, it's your fault. That's an illegal lane change, okay? When you're making your turn, you should be staying in your lane and not swooping into the other one. You'll see mom and dad do this. You'll see, if you sit in an intersection, you'll see almost every car try to do that. And that's because everybody's in a hurry, right? And you guys want to get your license. So if you want your license, you better do it right or pay the price. Okay? Shared left turn lane, okay? Again, you'll see this on Route 14, like over towards Target and Kohl's and all those car dealerships over there. There is a left turn lane. This is something that you should not get into until you're about ready to turn, okay? So turn lanes made in mid-block from center lane. Watch for oncoming traffic. Okay, this is a very dangerous lane because cars from this direction will get in, cars from this direction will get in, and if you're not paying attention, you're going to smash into each other. So this is not something that you ride on for a very long time. Okay, it's just called a shared left turn lane. Have one in Crystal Lake. All right, steps for backing left and right. So again, they talked about this section. So check for traffic, pedestrians, parked vehicles. Turn your head in the direction you'll be backing. Keep both hands on the steering wheel. I always say it's okay to put that one hand if you need to see better. That's totally fine with me. Some instructors don't allow that, so you got to talk to your instructor. Okay. Back up slowly, unwind the steering wheel, finish in the straight position. Okay. Usually what I have my kids do is I'll have them make that turn. So they'll be making that turn. And then when they get around that turn and they get the car straight, I say, stop, get the wheel back to be straight, and then go straight back. Okay. So again, example of a gal using that other passenger seat to get full range of her shoulders so she can see out the back window, assuming you have a back window. Some cars don't, then you're just relying on your mirrors. Turnabouts. What is a turnabout? It's a maneuver for turning your vehicle all the way around to go in the opposite direction. Okay, this can be a high-risk maneuver, okay, especially if you're going and there's traffic in the area, okay? So if you're doing a turnabout, whether it's a U-turn or a driveway turnabout, make sure it's legal, okay? If you see a no U-turn sign here, then we cannot do that, okay? Don't do turnabouts near hills, curves, or other traffic because you're going to cause an accident and potentially lose your life or somebody else's. We don't want that to happen, okay? So if you're reading the textbook on page 116 to 118, they talk about all the different U-turns or turnabouts, okay? Again, you need to know the definition of a turnabout is to go back the way you came, okay? We spend a lot of time on turnabouts. We do left and right driveway turnabouts. We do a 3-point turnabout with you guys, okay? And then we show you a basic mid-block U-turn, all right? So anytime you're doing these turnabouts, again, make sure it's legal. See, look at these factors. Check the traffic. What types of driveways are available? Okay, if you're doing these driveway turnabouts and you're practicing Is it garbage day? Because if you knock over a garbage pail, oh man, you're going to be in big trouble because you're going to have to clean that all up. All right. So be very careful when you're doing driveway turnabouts on garbage day. Okay. Need to enter traffic lanes forward or backwards. You have to figure out which is which, and I'll show you these videos here in a few minutes. Okay. Make sure you give yourselves lots of space. And think about the number of traffic lanes you need to cross. Back into an alley or driveway is usually the safest because it allows you to enter traffic going forward. A lot of the other driveway turnabouts, you have to back out of a driveway, and that can cause some issues. Okay. Last but not least, 3-point turnabout. Only use that in a dead-end street or rural road. I can tell you, I can count on probably one hand how many times I've done a 3-point turnabout, but I do have it in my arsenal if I ever do need it. All right, so question is, can you identify the turnabout? Okay, so car pulls as far over as it can, make sure there's no traffic, and then he turns around and does a U-turn or a mid-block U-turn. This is a mid-block U-turn. This one, car starts here. Okay, this is the front of it, this is the back of it. It is going back. Okay, I call this alley back up right or backing around a corner. Okay, so I back to the right. I make sure there's no pedestrians or cars. I have it in drive and I drive away. This is really nice because you can look forward and you can drive forward. Okay, so when you back up, you're doing the hard part first. The second part's the easy part, driving away. Okay, notice that this is a turnabout. He was going up or north in this direction. He's like, oh shoot, I went the wrong way. So he's backing up and now he's going back south. Okay, that's the definition of a turnabout. All right, this one, the car starts here. He pulls into the left driveway. Okay, so he gets, I always tell my kids, get the car straight, wheel straight, and back straight back. Okay, until your bumper is about even with the curb. If there's a sidewalk, you'll be kind of almost sitting on the sidewalk. And this is where I have my kids crank the wheel, and they should be able to get straight into this lane. Then they straighten the wheel, put the car in drive, and drive away. Big thing is when you're here, before you get out in traffic, you want to be making sure there is no traffic, no pedestrians before you get out there. Okay. When you're doing a left driveway turnabout, you only have to back into one lane, the nearest lane. Okay. When I do this one, okay, notice the car starts here. This is a right driveway. So if you're here, you're turning right. If I go a right driveway, normally he was going south. Okay, he's like, oh shoot, I missed my friend's house. He pulls in, I say, get the car straight, wheel straight, and then we start backing up. Before you get into traffic, make sure there's no cars coming or pedestrians. And then I say, get your bumper right about at the midline, and that's when we start cranking the wheel, and we should be able to get back nice and straight in the lane so that we can drive north. So get the car straight, wheel straight, put it in drive, and drive away. Okay. If you look at the right driveway turnabout, this one you have to back across 2 lanes. Okay, that's a little bit more dangerous. It's a little bit tougher to do. Okay, this is one of the harder ones to do. Last but not least, we have the 3-point turnabout. So there's 3 points of this. We get as far right as we can. Okay, again, this is a very dangerous maneuver. We don't do this very often. Okay, only on dead ends and rural roads where there's no cars coming. So point 1 is get as far right as you can. Okay, and then turn your left blinker on and let everybody know you're going to get perpendicular in the road. Once there's no cars coming, check your blind spot, check your mirrors. There's no cars coming. Then we get perpendicular. We crank the wheel, get perpendicular in the road. Perpendicular means creating 90-degree angles. So here's the roadway. Here's your car. This is a very dangerous spot to be in. So that's point 2. Then, as quickly as you can, you put the car in reverse and you have the wheel cranked to the right, making sure there's no cars coming. You back up to point 3, okay, almost to where your car's off the edge of the road. You'll have plenty of room now to drive away, put in drive, and make sure there's no cars coming. All right, questions with that? How we doing, y'all? Any issues? No issues. Use your mic if you do. All right, so we did that. Those are different things that you guys will have to know, okay? You can look back at this PowerPoint as we go through. Again, U-block mid-turn, or mid-block U-turn, excuse me, okay? This is what I call alley back up right or backing around a corner. This is a left driveway turnabout. That's the right driveway turnabout, and this is the three-point turnabout, okay? Last but not least, I talked about parking. There's lots of different parking. Anytime you're parking, again, be very careful not to be parking too fast. So speed control is very important, especially if you're in a parking lot, okay? Control your vehicle and have good judgment. Make parking easier. Find spaces with lots of room, especially if you're a new driver. Avoid in spaces due to greater risk of being struck by moving vehicles. Avoid spaces near poorly parked vehicles. If they can't park very well, they probably don't care about their car. And if they don't care about their car, they're not going to care about your car. So don't park next to them. Also use reference points part of the car compared to the outside of the car when executing parking maneuvers. I usually use my side mirrors to decide on when to turn. Okay. And once you start getting used to it, you just have a good feeling of when to turn with your vehicle. Okay. Driving a big old pickup truck is a lot different than driving, a sports car. So it's kind of a little bit different. Some of them are more maneuverable than others. Okay. So hopefully we don't park like this or like that. Oh man. Or like that. Oh, we don't want that. That's crazy. Okay. So reference points. Some part of the outside or inside of the vehicle that relates to some part of the roadway. Again, my mirrors work great. I use the middle of my hood to make sure I'm lined up nice and pretty. Okay. Personal reference points. You might have something else that works for you. Maybe your wipers or door handles of a car. Okay. Or your rear view mirror might help you. So you got to see what works for you. Okay. There's different types of parking. This is called angled parking. Typically, you see angled parking on one-way streets. Okay. So angled parking, if I park here in the gray, there's only one way for me to back up, and that's the way I came in. So I'd have to back out. Okay. Angled parking is way easier because you don't have to turn the car as sharp. Okay. The angle is much, much less. Okay. Versus right angle parking. Right angle parking can be very difficult because you have to go 90 degrees to the curb. Okay. If I'm coming from this side, a left 90-degree park, perpendicular park, is way easier because I'm super wide already. I can get into that turn very easily. Versus if I'm coming this way, I need to swoop out and make sure there's no cars coming from this direction. I need to swoop out, give myself 8 to 10 feet so I can get into that spot. Okay. Sometimes you got to let this car go through and then I'm having my blinker on, and then I swoop out and then I take that spot. Okay. So again, a left perpendicular park is way easier than a right perpendicular park. Parallel parking, I'm going to show a video that shows this. This is something that we do not spend time on with in Cary Grove just because we don't do a lot of parallel parking. If we live closer to the city, we would probably spend more time on this, but it's just something that we don't do. Okay, but I have a great video. I've become a great perpendicular parker ever since I've watched this video, so I hope you guys watch it. There's also parking on a hill. Okay, parking on a hill. If for some reason my car gets out of drive, or excuse me, gets out of park, my car would roll and roll and roll because of gravity. Okay, so we always want to make sure that our front wheels are turned a specific way. All right, so I'll show you what that is. If I'm going downhill, okay, so I'm going downhill, I want my wheels angled towards the curb, and I want to wedge my tire up against the curb so that it gets secure with the tire. Okay, once I have my tires in that wedged position, I'm going to put it into park and put my parking brake on. Okay. Versus uphill, if I'm going backwards, the gravity is pulling me back. I want to turn my wheels out, okay, or away from the curb. And when I roll, this back tire will get wedged. Okay. So downhill, I always say down, down, and in towards the curb, and then uphill is up, up, and away. Okay. So that's something you guys should study there. Okay. To help you guys out with uphill and downhill, I'm going to show you some videos. So I am done with that. I'm going to stop sharing. No, I'm not. I'm going to stop recording, though. So I don't need to do that anymore. Watch the videos, y'all.